You know what's awesome? Being able to try stuff out. That's why clothing stores have fitting rooms and why restaurants have sampler platters with, like, all the appetizers. And I can't even imagine choosing a froyo flavor without sampling. Talk about brain freeze. That's why Sprint is giving you the opportunity to try our amazing network in Chicago with the Sprint Satisfaction Guarantee. When you switch to Sprint, you can take your time and get a feel for what we're all about. Call up your cousins in California. Upload photos of your adventures all around the city. Stream your favorite playlists on your L-Train commute. Put us to the test and see what you think. If for whatever reason Sprint isn't your flavor after 14 days, just bring your phone back in and we'll refund the phone cost and activation fee. It's that easy. We're willing to bet that you'll love our network, but you don't have to take our word for it. Try us out with the Sprint Satisfaction Guarantee. Visit sprint.com/Chicago Network or call 800-SPRINT-1 today.
Excludes actual usage charges. Activation and restocking fee may still apply. We refund device cost. Restrictions apply.
Blog Talk Radio.
Paranormal Review Radio.
Hello and welcome, everyone. It is Friday night, and you're listening to Paranormal Review Radio, the only radio show without commercials and with more great paranormal talk. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Anthony Agati in New York.
And I'm Lucy Liebfried in Chicago. You are listening to one of the highest-rated paranormal radio shows on Blog Talk. No bull, no lies, just a true platform for everyone to share their knowledge and experiences. When searching for the truth, good communication is key. Now, the phone lines are open for questions or comments. The number to call is 661-244-9831. Make sure you press the number 1 to get into queue, and we'll try to get to you as soon as we can. Otherwise, our chat room is open so that you can post any comments or questions there as well. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Paranormal Review Radio. You'll find more articles, blogs, and full show uploads. And if you have specific questions, comments, or would like to be a guest on the show, email us at paranormal.review@aol.com. Now, sit back, get comfy, and prepare to open your minds. It's time for Paranormal Review Radio.
Well, Lucy, we've got a lot to cover tonight, and I mean a lot to cover. So I'm just going to get into the little intro that I wrote because it sort of sums up tonight's show, and then we'll just get right into the heart of everything. So, you know, there are many people across the country and around the world that are steadfast in unlocking, unraveling, and unveiling some of the most fascinating and compelling research into the afterlife and the paranormal that will make the hairs on your neck stand up on end. I'm not talking about video or pictures. I'm talking about real research and compiled data and insight that allows our minds and brains to rethink and think about the things that have yet to be scientifically approved. These people that work long and hard, countless hours and days, weeks at a computer or with their heads in a book, interviewing everyday people and high-level ranking members of government and special organizations are the real heroes and pioneers in the paranormal. They don't seek publicity or demand a show on television. These are the people and groups we need to bring to the public eye and have their work shared with the world. But sadly, this will not happen either. Why? Because it's not scary enough. It's not dark enough. It's not controversial enough, although I believe their work to be controversial with truth. These are the people and groups that are trying to forge forward and keep paranormal research above the line of embarrassment or shame that many people are creating with silly shows and public assemblies for folks who are looking for their name in lights or dollar bills in their pockets. These pioneers are the ones I want to thank. These heroes are the ones we want to give a hand and help support. These are the people that will hopefully one day make this field a legitimate one that we all can be proud to say we belong to. So tonight's show is dedicated to these very people I speak about. Lucy and I are going to discuss how recent spectacles in the paranormal are hurting the field and how people will lie or quickly change their stand in the paranormal in order for them to get fame and money. The sellout is unbelievable, and the views from the public have become more damaging than ever before. If we don't call out the nonsense as a whole, then it will continue, and the area of the paranormal will soon become an Aesop's fable that once was. We're not doing this for publicity or for ratings. We don't care about numbers, and we can attest to that. We've said that many, many times on our show in the past. If you think we do, then log off the show and stop listening. We don't care if no one listens at all. I mean, we do care, but if no one wants to listen, then that's fine. We care about what we care about is getting out the truth. And if that means we have to deal with angry or bitter people in the field, then so be it. We both care about this field, Lucy and I, both care about this field and want to truly find answers to the afterlife, even though it may be virtually impossible. But at least we can say we did it with dignity, value, and respect, unlike others. Tonight we will share with you some findings we personally have uncovered about recent shows on television like Exorcist Live and The Demon Files, as well as discussing some of other aspects of the paranormal where it has become a joke, like certain conferences and annual get-togethers in the name of paranormal. We will not resort to name-calling or childish acts of conversation. If you disagree, if you're going to call in, and if you disagree, we welcome the difference, but ask that you conduct yourself in an adult manner on the phone, and this also applies in chat. So, Lucy, why don't you begin? Let us in on your thoughts about what sort of you and I have been discussing the last few weeks or so, and give us what your feelings are, sort of, generalized. We're going to go into real big detail to the point where we're going to provide evidence, actually. So, but for now, just give your overall general opinion about the world of the paranormal, people who are forsaking and selling out their abilities within the paranormal for money and fame, and not gearing anything towards research.
Well, I will tell you one thing. Just the last couple of weeks, things that I've seen on television, some of the things that I've seen posted in social media, I'm really amazed at how far we've gotten off track. I mean, it's gotten to the point where before we can be taken seriously as a field, as a group, as a community, I think we've gone in the complete opposite direction. It's become a circus. It really has. And this is my opinion. And honestly, you know what? If you don't agree with me, that's fine. You're entitled to it. But I'm really amazed at the things that we've seen on television and how everybody is like, oh, this is wonderful and this is great and this is super. It's not. It's really not. If you're like us and you're passionate about the paranormal, you're searching for answers. And a lot of times those answers aren't going to be the most sensational thing. They're not going to be ratings grabbers, okay? Everyone who investigates knows that you spend hours. You can spend hours and hours and nothing happens. Well, that's not going to make an interesting TV show. But the whole point is that it's not about being on TV. It's not about being in the spotlight. It's about getting answers, And, I'm just reading the chat room real quick. The same discussion will occur in 50 years. Nothing will change. But that's the thing. It can change. It really can change. We don't have to accept what's being put out there. And some of the things I've saw, I've really been amazed at how silly it is. And I'll say it, it's silly. It's really silly. So I'm hoping tonight we can get a conversation going. And we want to hear from you. I mean, we can't be the only ones that feel this. We can't be the only ones that think about this. If you feel the same way, give us a call. Let's talk. And even if you don't feel the same way, call us. Explain this to us. I want to understand what's so sensational about some of the things that we've seen. Why is everything geared towards the dark? Why is everything searching for demons now? And you know, there's so much that we need to cover, and hopefully we'll touch on some of this stuff. But I really want to hear what you think.
Well, you know, we do have a lot to discuss and talk about, and hopefully we're going to get to callers if they so decide to call in. But there's a bunch of things that I do want to get to, and I want to make sure that we reach out, and the words that we want to express and the things that we want to put forward are conveyed to our listeners. I think they deserve the truth. Everyone who listens to our show deserves the truth, and we're going to give it tonight. Now, I'm going to get to, and Lucy and I are going to get to what we just talked about, the television show part of it. But first I want to talk about the paranormal conferences. You know, I don't think I've ever publicly said this before in such a manner. I've sort of alluded to it, and Lucy has mentioned it as well on previous shows that we've done. You know, we've gone in the past to paranormal conferences, and that's actually how Lucy and I met each other, was at a paranormal conference in New Jersey at in Philadelphia at Eastern State Penitentiary. And, you know, starting out, it was fun. Starting out, being a newbie, it was exciting, you know, getting to be with the people that you've watched on television for however long. And to be there in the same room investigating a haunted location is a thrill. It's exciting. Lucy and I have gotten over that. You know, we are fans of certain shows, or we are fans of certain people that are claimed to be quote-unquote para-celebs, or paranormal celebs. You know, there are good people out there. But we've gotten over that pop culture feeling that, oh my God, it's the Beatles, or oh my God, it's Elvis, or, you know, we've superseded it because of the passion that we have in the paranormal. And I get the people that only want to do this just to be there with Jason or Grant or Zach or Aaron and in a haunted location. And time after time after time they do that. I get it, you know. But those aren't the people that are into research. The people that are there, that are the para-celebs, claim to be within this field for the paranormal, to find answers. You know, and I think that's one of the main reasons why, and this is a personal opinion, why Nick left the group and left the show. I think he truly embodies the passion, and I think he felt the passion was being sucked out of him by having to do the insane shows that Ghost Adventures puts on. I don't know if anything is faked or not. I've heard rumors, but that's not the case. I think he was just led into an area of fame and fortune and celebrityness, if that's a word, and was caught up in it, but he snapped out of it. And I think he realized and woke up and understood that his passion wasn't there anymore, and he was missing it, and that's why he left. That's my personal opinion. That's what I got from our conversation, our interview with him, and that's what I'm getting from his YouTube videos that he puts out. You know, he's passionate about it, and he wants to continue that research. And he even mentioned it to us when we were talking to him, that he wanted to get back to that, where he was in the very beginning when he first did that documentary with the other guys. He wants to get back to that feeling again, and somehow television pulled it out of him, wiped it clean, whatever it is. But to get back on topic with these paranormal conferences, I I'm noticing time after time, and I have commented to people that are supposedly, I don't know if they're co-hosting these conferences or somehow a part of these conferences. I've messaged them and I've emailed them, and I've asked because I see the same names constantly for each conference that pops up annually. The same names are on the panels or are the guest, speakers at these things. And I've known, because I've been to a few of them, and the multiple times that I've gone in the very beginning of my journey, they repeated the same types of speeches over and over again. It was the same PowerPoint slides over and over again. And I'm thinking to myself, I just paid $100 and something to not just to investigate a haunted location, but I'm looking for answers, and I'm looking for some guidance, or I'm looking for something new and different from these supposed experts in the field that should be sharing something. I don't expect these folks to be time after time regurgitating the same thing over and over again just for the fact that they're there, they can get money and take pictures and do autographs for people. That's what these paranormal conferences are turning into. It's a place where people can go and what they're doing is they're feeding on the people that are watching these television shows and gaining that energy from them and gaining that appearance from all of these people who just are couch investigators or are newbies in the field, whatever it is, going to these types of conferences just to get 5 feet away from a paraceleb or to get an autograph or to get a picture with them. And these people in the field are doing it. They're agreeing with it. They're going along with it. But on the other side of their mouth, they claim that they are in it for the paranormal. They claim and they say that they practice what they preach. I don't know if that's true or not, but you're not practicing anything if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and there's nothing new. And every time that I've emailed or messaged these conference hosts, I never get an answer. Or they say, buy a ticket and find out. It's never, first of all, if you ever look at these paranormal conferences, they never explain what these speakers are going to be talking about or what they're going to be presenting. Supposedly, just the name alone, John Zaffis or whoever else is in the field is going to be there. Oh, I got to run and I got to go buy a ticket and go get it. No, I want to know what they're talking about. I want to know what I'm paying my hard-earned money for, to see if it's actually something that I've already listened to and heard before. Why do I need to buy a ticket just to see that they've actually already regurgitating the same thing I heard from them last year or at a previous conference? I don't understand why. I mean, I do understand why. It's all about money and fame. Just a couple of, Lucy, I'm just going to tackle some points that I wrote down, and then I'll just let you go off as well, just because I want to make sure that I get it out. The other part of these paranormal conferences are what I call the quote-unquote flea markets. They have the vendor tables that are, if you want to be a vendor, you pay for a table to be in this huge room, a 6-foot table with a tablecloth and whatever merchandise you're trying to sell, or any other paraphernalia that you're trying to get out there to get money off of. I get some of the people who are there and they make legitimate products. They're trying to sell crystals, or, they may make art, paranormal art, which I think is great. Things like that, I think, is okay. The question mark that pops over my head is when I see paranormal groups at a table. To me, I don't understand that. I don't get it. And I'm not downing paranormal groups at all. What I'm saying is I'm not sure I understand why a paranormal group needs to have a vendor table. If it's for promotion, that's fine. If it's for advertising who they are so they get their name out there, that's fine. That's what the Internet is for. That's what local newspapers are for. But when they're there at the table, they're also selling things as well. And I don't know, to me it just cheapens the whole thing. It creates a circus out of a paranormal conference. And this combined with the idea of just a regular paranormal celeb there regurgitating the same thing, I truly am just disgusted with it completely. Now, just today, and Lucy made a comment on before we came on the air tonight, but I found out before she told me, just today, Chris Fleming posted on his Facebook page how he wants to create a conference in regards to paranormal research. He doesn't want to invite paranormal celebs. He's trying to figure out a way to create paranormal conferences that educates and that provides necessary research to people like you and I that are either just interested or heavily in the field of paranormal. And I commented back to him, and I applauded him, because that's the first time I've ever seen anyone that's within the field of his level, because he's had notoriety on television, and he's been at these other conferences, and he's within that category as para-celeb, but I applaud him for actually wanting to try and make a change. And I noticed comments on how people are commenting back to him saying, this is a great idea. I would love to know about technology and how that affects either the environment or me. Somebody else talked about parapsychology and the Rhine Institute, and maybe getting someone from the Rhine Institute there, which I think is amazing if you could get somebody from the Rhine Institute. I would definitely sit there in the audience and listen to someone talk about that. To me, that's interesting. And I think that to everybody else who is truly passionate about this field would be interested in that as well. I can't sit by and I get disgusted, and it's actually made me unfriend a lot of people when I just see the same conferences over and over and over again, and they just put the name. There's no substance to this. There's nothing in regards to what is being offered, what is being talked about, and that's where the research dies. That's how the research becomes so minuscule that to the outsider, to the people who are looking at us from the outside, say that the paranormal is a joke. And I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of the paranormal, but I don't want to be a part of that, and I don't want them to be a part of it. The people that are putting on these silly conferences, I don't want them to be a part of the same group that I'm in. Okay, my rant is over. Maybe.
Well, you know what? I have to go back to the beginning. And like you said, in the beginning, it was fun. It was an opportunity to meet other people that were interested in the same thing. That first conference to me was amazing. There were people selling things and stuff like that, but it was an opportunity to meet some of these people that have been involved in the paranormal, that have a name out there, and you got to talk to them. I've watched these conferences change from a learning experience to a party experience. I've seen it myself. We've seen it where instead of being the educational gathering of minds to a bunch of people that just want to hang out, get drunk, and just party, which is fine. Everyone loves to party. I'm not putting that down. But the whole thing is that as far as these paranormal conferences, the way they are now, I see names of people, like you said, Anthony, I don't know what they do. I have no idea what their contribution is. What are they bringing to the table? And is it worth me spending $150 to go and hang out with them? That's my question. And when I saw the post from Chris, I thought, oh, my God, this is so cool. This is really what needs to happen. And I'm glad someone of Chris's level is bringing this up. Let's talk about the research. Let's get back to discussion groups. Let's get back to interaction with people that are doing something. Bring a new theory to the table. Let's discuss, investigations. Let's discuss evidence. But so far, it's just a bunch of tables and people selling T-shirts, and it's not fun anymore. And that's one of the main reasons that I really have not really wanted to go. I mean, I used to go to the one here in Chicago, and it was to connect with people. But it's gotten to the point where I don't know who half these people are, and I don't know what they offer. You know, someone gets on a television show once, and then all of a sudden they're in 5 or 6 different conferences. I don't know who they are. I don't know what they've done. I've seen them on television maybe once. Is that worth me paying $150 to go and spend time to listen to this person? Not really. I work hard for my money. I don't really have that kind of money to spend. So these are just some of the things that really bother me about the conferences, you know. And I know one of your points that you brought that I am reading on yours, you know, the paranormal conferences, they never include scientists, doctors, people within the science field, UFO people. You know, yeah, we're all talking about, you know, ghosts and paranormal. But things have a connection. You know, I would love to talk to somebody who has experience with elementals. I'd love to talk to somebody from a different country, someone from the UK, Ireland, Australia. You know, these are the kinds of things. I'm not really interested in talking to someone who's been on a TV show once. I mean, honestly, I'm really not. And like you said, when you see these posters and you see these people being advertised, what are they bringing to the table? A lot of these paranormal conferences, you don't know. You really don't. It's just a name.
In addition to a lot of the paranormal conferences, there is always 99.9999% of the time, always a paranormal investigation afterwards, after the conference, sort of like, you know, that's the, you know, the coup d'etat, that's the cherry on top, that's the icing on the cake, is this paranormal investigation that you get to go on with whoever is on the paranormal celeb panel. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about that, but my opinion on it is, and I've noticed this from the few that I've gone to, there are a lot of people who attend these conferences who have never stepped foot in a haunted location, never have turned on a digital audio recorder, never have turned on an EMF detector, never have done anything like that. And so they attend these conferences in order to get that experience that they have seen on television. Now, in the field of the paranormal, you have to say to yourself, and you have to think about this, we have, and even the same paranormal celebs that are on the panels doing this, have said to people publicly and personally that anyone who enters a haunted location must understand what they are getting into, must understand where they need to draw the line. They need to understand prayers or white light surrounding them, whatever it is. They need to educate themselves before they walk into a haunted location. Now, Lucy and I have said that many, many times. If you are going to go out there and investigate a location that you think is haunted, you need to do the research before you go there. You need to educate yourself, not just about the actual location, but educate yourself about how to properly do this. If there are ways to signify things that may get too far, too horrific, and you don't know where that limit is, then you're in deep shit. You have to make sure that you understand your body, you understand your senses. You can tell these things when you walk in, but you have to understand it. You have to learn about it. So 99.999% of the time, these conferences have these paranormal investigations over that long weekend. And they bring these people in unknowingly, uneducated, with the inability to understand anything, and just, you know, with puppy dog eyes and their jaw down to the ground, following these paranormal celebs around and paranormal investigating in these places. To me, that's dangerous. To me, that is worse than if I were to go out and try and exorcise Lucy if I felt that she was being possessed. That's worse than that. That's actually inviting the people in. And to me, inviting something into you is worse than trying to get them out in any means possible. So do you remember, Lucy, I think it's the last conference that we went to, which was at the Stanley Hotel. Do you remember the anger that we felt towards the end of the investigation, the paranormal investigation at the hotel? Do you remember us sitting down in the hallway, okay, waiting to go into one of the rooms, the hotel rooms? Do you remember this? Do you remember what happened and who came out the door and who left the investigation early? You don't say who, but just do you remember that?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay. We paid a lot of money, not just for this conference itself for the weekend, but we paid a lot of money for airfare and hotel and everything else. We went to the conference. We sat at some of the panel seminars and discussions that were there, and we investigated the hotel. I actually donated money. It was like a bid auction, and so I gave money to be able to get, I think it was 2 rooms I was able to actually get a loan for the night for us. And in addition to our own hotel room that we had at the hotel. But we had 2 of the most infamous haunted location rooms that we had. So anyway, while we were on the group investigation, it was a large group. There was over 250 people, I think, at this thing. And you had to wait your turn, basically, because you can only get so many people inside a haunted hotel room. And so we were waiting outside in the hallway, and I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to blow them up. They know who they are, and you probably get it just from me saying this. They were supposedly in this one room doing an investigation, and we were sitting outside in the hallway for what I believe was like almost all night long, waiting for them to get out, waiting for the other sort of quote-unquote newbies to get out so that we can go in there with these, power celebs, whatever you want to call them. And as we're sitting in the hallway, we heard the door open to the room. And one by one, they all walked out. And we noticed that the paracelebs walked out first, and then we noticed, I think it was 2 or 3 women that walked out with them. And then they walked at the end of the hall and left the hotel. So to them, that was the end of their investigation. But we were still waiting. There was other people waiting behind us, and they left. We investigated the room ourselves, but we paid money. A lot of other people paid money for this. And this was a cheap thrill weekend for these paracelebs. That, to me, is disgusting. That's not paranormal investigating. That's not being passionate about it. That's not living up to the promise that you've made to over 250 people who paid so much money and paid your salary for that night. To me, that was disgusting. Disgusting.
It was a disappointment. I will say that. And honestly, what I remember about that conference, we had a better investigation on our own without them.
Right.
Once we actually got into the rooms, we actually had a much better investigation. It was very disappointing, not only for us. It was more disgusting to see it. It was funny at one point, but then it really got a little aggravating because no one knew what was going on. There were people that had traveled, had spent money, and they were sitting there and they were waiting, and I remember them, they kept saying, well, where are they? Are they going to come back? Are they going to come back? Not a single word was said to anyone about them coming back. Nothing was said about what was going to happen. It was just like, okay, that's it, And that's pretty disappointing. That's just wrong. Here you have people that have come. They've spent their money. You've advertised it as an evening investigating with so-and-so. And when these people, your fans, the people that watch your shows every single week, and they're there and they're expecting something from you that you have promised in your advertisement, and then you don't deliver, that's wrong. That's just simply wrong. That's not showing respect for your fans. That's not showing respect for the location that you've advertised this for. And it just leaves a very nasty taste in everyone's mouth. It really is. And I will never, that's kind of like when I started looking at some of these people in a whole different light, because I saw a whole side of them that I didn't want to believe was there. But, you know, call me naive. I didn't know any better. And it would just seem like it's like, you know, let's just get our money, let's run, and let's have a good time, which is fine. You know, everybody, like I said, everybody likes to party. That's fine. But when you have people that look up to you, and believe it or not, a lot of the people that go to these conferences, they're not seasoned investigators. They're fans. They're people that want to get a taste of what it's like. They go to these conferences and they want to investigate. And when you drop the ball and you leave them hanging, you leave them sitting in a hallway waiting for you when you take off, that's just absolutely wrong. It really is.
All right. So, you know, everybody gets our point about paranormal conferences. This is just our opinion. You know, I don't know if anyone else has had experiences like that, like what Lucy and I have had, or if you have feelings about the paranormal conferences that have been going on. You know, you just have to see them and just pull up one of their promotions, any one of them. You know, you can see that nothing is detailed as far as what is going to be discussed, or nothing is explained. Even in the Facebook invites, there's nothing in the descriptions that talk about it. So, you know, if it's our voice that people are hearing and it's on behalf of you, great. But if you've got a voice and you're listening, I suggest you say something as well, because if nothing is said, nothing is going to change, because, you know, status quo, status quo. Everybody's going to think everything's okay, and they're going to continue with it. And I think the outpouring of disdain for the show Exorcism Live, which is a good segue to get into, but I think the outpouring of the disdain for that show may have led Chris Fleming to, you know, maybe start thinking maybe we should start to do something different. Because I think everybody at that point, after that show aired, Exorcism Live, that people were, you know, people that's not in the field were saying that, see how silly and hooky and kooky the paranormal is. It's just about demons and how much they can scare anybody that's watching. So, talking about Exorcism Live, let's get into that, Lucy.
Okay.
Just to give you an overview, if you have not watched it, I'm not going to give you the details of it, but the basic overview of Exorcism Live, they aired the history of the 1949 case of Roland Doe. They did that with reenactments and partial pieces of Christopher Booth's movie or documentary, whichever it is. I didn't see it, but pieces of that film were aired that night to show the real case, I guess. The Tennessee Rat Chasers investigated the home. Robert Murch and Chip Coffey performed a seance and did the Ouija board. And Bishop Long and Chip performed the minor rite of exorcism in the home, and that was towards the very end. My question, though, to you, Lucy, and even to people who are listening right now, should this, you know, it was promoted as being the, you know, Exorcism Live, and I understood what this show was going to be about. You know, a lot of people were expecting to be, you know, a person that was going to be exorcised. I already knew that it was going to be the home, because I know the history of it, and that was the only reason why they would go there, is to exorcise the home, or exorcise the demon from the home. That's the proper terminology. But should this have been just an exorcism show and not a quick build-up with the history, the investigating, the seance, the Ouija board, and then finally, you know, and with all that drama, and then finally in the last 10, maybe 15 minutes, the most, was the actual exorcism, and they didn't actually finish the exorcism at the end of the show, because Bishop Long has admitted that he had to go back in the home after it aired and finish it with somebody else. So should this have been just an exorcism show? Should they have not done all of that build-up and the investigating? We already knew the place is haunted. Why do we need an investigate? Well, we already knew it was haunted. I don't know if it is still. because why would a family be living in there right now if it was with a baby? If you'd notice, there's a crib in one of the rooms with a baby, and still living there, and I have not heard a peep about anything in regards to this home until this show was being promoted. But should it have just been the exorcism? Should they have spent more time at least having Bishop or having anybody be in there to exorcise the home, go through it continually without any commercial break in between the rite of exorcism, which was ridiculous to me. They actually cut the rite of exorcism off in the middle of it to go to commercial and pay for the show. But should they've done more of the exorcism, or would it have mattered anyway?
Honestly, I don't think it would have mattered. I mean, the way the show was presented, exorcism live, you're going to see a real live exorcism on television. Seriously. I mean, when I saw the advertisements, I just shook my head and I'm thinking, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. Honestly, to me, what was interesting about it was the history, and I actually would have loved to seen a little bit more of the investigation. I think there was a better way to present it. And one question I did have while I'm watching this, and I did notice the baby crib, I did notice the house. The house didn't seem so dark. It didn't seem so evil. You
know what they tried to do? They tried to make the boy's bedroom a little bit more creepier by removing all of the personal artifacts out of that one single room. Did you notice that?
Right. But see, one question that I had, why this house? Why not try to exorcise the spirits at a really known haunted location? How about the house in Alaska? How about Pennhurst? How about Eastern State Penitentiary? I mean, you've got spirits there. You've got something dark there. Brownsville Penitentiary in the basement.
You've got the name Exorcist attached to this home. So, I mean,
which means you're selling the idea of what was put forth in the movie. It was sensationalism. It was something sensational. Let's go to the Exorcist house. And I read a couple articles about the neighborhood, and people didn't seem to be talking about something, major happening there. So the neighbors were actually
laughing about this whole thing, because there's reports online about the neighbor that lived right across the street laughing at the entire production of this, and was actually praying for the producers and the directors for their stupidness. That's exactly what this neighbor had said.
They were complaining more about their parking than they were about any demons.
Right.
So, honestly, I mean, to me, it was just to get ratings. I mean, the amount of commercials that Destination America put into this show was ridiculous. It really was. And I just thought it was like a big, giant step backwards for the paranormal field. It was a Halloween stunt, and that's basically what it seemed like to me.
Well, and that's. I understand wanting to put on the theatrics because of Halloween, but what got me angered was, first of all, one particular person that was on the show, and that is Bishop James Long. And I'll get into that in a minute, and we've got something that we want to reveal about him. But the producer of this show was actually interviewed in an article, and the producer had said that they were going to do this last year, but they weren't able to get things done in time for this to be done for last Halloween. So, if this home and these people believed that there was a demon still living in this house, you mean to tell me that this producer turned to the family that lives in this house and said, sorry, we can't do an exorcism. You're going to have to live with the demon for another year. We're going to do this next year. Sorry. Goodbye.
It was presented as, we want to help people. We want to help move, this demon out of this home. If someone needs help, they're not going to wait a year and live with this so that it can happen. If someone needs help, they need help immediately, especially when you're talking about something demonic, when you're talking about something evil. You're not going to put it off. You're not going to postpone it for next Halloween. If this house really was that in need of a cleansing, and that's how I saw it. I just saw it as a house cleansing. You're not going to wait that long. So what was this family doing for the whole year that they waited for the show to come to be put on? I mean, can someone explain that to me? I have not seen anything.
Money.
I haven't seen anything. Well, yeah, I'm sure the family got paid, and that's the thing. The family themselves chose not to be a part of this. That gave me a couple questions. Yeah, Sharon just said it. No mother is going to stay with a baby in a house that has a demon. I saw a crib in that house.
Right.
There obviously is a child living there. So if there's something evil and if there's something that bad, I don't think that any mother on this earth would let her child stay in that house.
Well, getting on to some of the aspects within the show, the Tennessee Rat Chasers, I don't know much about them. I don't watch Ghost Asylum, that show that's on Destination America. It's just another investigating show, and they're basically going to every single same location that has been done before by other shows. So it's just regurgitating the same thing over and over again. And that's fine for the fans of the people that want to see that and see what happens to them in particular, but that doesn't interest me. But what interested me when I looked up Tennessee Rat Chasers, and in their promo for the show, for their Ghost Asylum show, they say, and I'm not sure if this is Chris or not, they say that we don't just hunt ghosts, and this is verbatim. This is a quote. We don't just hunt ghosts, we catch them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most idiotic thing, first of all, that I've ever heard anyone say. You're not catching spirits, number one. To try and say that you are like the Ghostbusters is, I can't think of the right word to say and to stamp on them, because I've never seen such stupidity in my entire life that you can claim to catch ghosts. And they tried to do it that night as well with that devil box. And I love the way that they name these things with the devil box. It's a box with mirrors in it, and they were trying to somehow catch a spirit inside there. And they claim that they do catch spirits inside boxes and stuff like that. So, it's like it's an extension of the Ghostbusters movie, but to me it's stupidity. In my opinion, and you were just talking about this before, that they should have done more investigating, then it would have been just an investigation of the exorcism home, not an exorcism. So therefore I know the reason why they didn't spend that much time investigating. But instead of doing the reenactments, which took up time, you and I have noticed and have witnessed many, many times when we're in a haunted location and we talk about the home in the home, we talk about the people that lived in that home, we get reactions. We get sometimes communication from them because they're hearing it. It's almost as if like just pretend that you're a spirit in a home and somebody is talking about you and about your life history. And maybe they may get something wrong or they didn't stress something right. You're going to speak up. You're going to say, hey, wait a minute. No, that didn't happen. Or, yeah, that is right. Yeah, say that again. Say that again. You were right. Say that again. I would say that if I was a spirit in a home. They would have gotten a reaction. To me, I think that instead of doing the reenactments and showing this all-out dramatic film about the history, Tennessee Rat Chasers should have been inside that home talking about the history. They would have spent more time than in the home. You would have seen maybe possibly more reactions or more communication, but that may have stirred up something even more to the viewers itself that were watching it. That's, again, just my opinion because of past experience, but I would have thought that that's what they would have done, and if I was the producer or the director, I would have done that.
Well, I do have one question, and like I mentioned to you, I had the Ghost Asylum on right before we came on air, and they had been playing several episodes, and I've watched it every once in a while. But what I find really kind of curious is that every week they come up with some kind of contraption that they build to catch a ghost. I really have a problem with that. I mean, they literally have turned into the real-life version of Ghostbusters. You know, we got another one. I'm trying to understand this. I'm really trying to understand their take on it. I mean, the investigation portions of their show, they're interesting. Yes, I'll watch them. I've seen some evidence that they've gotten. In fact, we just watched an episode of them at Penhurst. There are a couple things in there that evidence that they got was really, really interesting. But you lose me when all of a sudden you bring out this box or this contraption or something, and every week it's something different. You know, do you remember there was a Ghost Adventures special? It was a couple hours, and there was a guy that made...
Yes, he was a fraud.
Yes.
He had this big box that was supposed to catch, and he was called out as a fraud, and it was actually shown on Ghost Adventures where supposedly the EMF detector was snatched out of his hand, but he actually threw it, and they showed it. And Ghost Adventures caught him doing that.
But see, that's what I keep thinking of. Every time I see one of these contraptions, every time I see one of these boxes, I've yet to see someone actually on this show, which they're claiming, you know, we just don't investigate, we catch ghosts. I'm looking for that. And what amazes me is that it's on television, it's on there, and people are like, they love it. They love it. I mean, are we so enamored of the movie Ghostbusters that we're looking at, you know, these are the real Ghostbusters? I don't get it. I really don't get it. To me,
what do you do with the spirit once it's in the box?
Supposedly they're supposed to release it or take it away from where it is. I'm not sure because I've never really sat through the whole thing.
If a spirit is easily able to transport, let's just say that this theory is true, that spirits are able to transport from one dimension to another and be within one location and another, possibly at the same time or at different times, this spirit, demon, whatever you want to call it, can do that. How the hell are you going to trap it in a box made of mirrors? How is it supposedly that your idea and your thinking that you can keep a spirit in a box of mirrors and it's going to stay there? Who comes up with these things? Tennessee Rat Chaser. That's who.
Oh, that's one of the main questions that I've had. I mean, the things that I've learned about spirits. I mean, we've always talked about that they're energy. Okay, so how can you take that form of energy and first lure the spirit into this contraption, get it to stay there, and keep it there? It's energy. It can go through anything. It can go through dimensions. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I'm looking for the episode that really explains this to me. And I want to see that ghost get trapped in that contraption, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, I don't want people to get the idea, if either you've just tuned in to listening to this or if you've heard us from the very beginning, I don't want anybody to get the misconception that, we didn't like the show because nothing happened. And I know there's a lot of people out there that those are the gripes, that, they watched this thing for 2 hours and wasted 2 hours of their life and nothing really happened. There was no chair flying across the room. There was nobody getting slapped or pushed down or anything like that. Listen, I know that cannot happen. I was not, and Lucy was not, and I'm sure you guys understood it as well. That was not going to happen in the hour or two that the show was on the air. It was not going to happen. So I don't want people to think that that's the reason why we're dogging this show. There's a bigger reason, which we're going to talk about right now, that we were disgusted by this show after the fact. You know, I watched it. I thought it was silly. It was entertainment for me. Nothing was really believable. Nothing would have been believable because I already knew who the players were in this whole thing. And so I just watched it for entertainment. But for those who watch it and live by these types of shows and base their faith on the paranormal on shows like this, that's what's wrong with this. That's what I find as being the issue with shows like Exorcism Live. So before we get on to the big man, can we talk about Chip Coffey?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The only thing that I really have, you know, and everybody knows my feelings. If you've watched our show before, everybody knows my feelings about Chip Coffey. We actually did a show called Operation Bumblebee where a group of people tried to debunk Chip Coffey, and I think they succeeded. They said that they didn't. We tried to have Chip on the show debating them. He refused, and then after he listened to our show, he wanted to come. He wanted us to create another show so that he can come on and discuss his side of it, and we denied him that fact. He had the opportunity the first hand. I don't go back a second time. But anyway, Chip is a character, and that's what really works for him. And I may not agree with a lot of the things that he does and the way that he does things, but that's Chip. I expect it from him. And so I don't watch things about him. I don't follow him. He's unfriended me, whatever. I don't deal with him anymore. The thing that I had a problem with was his post after the show. And he posted something on Facebook that says it, in a nutshell, the reason why they all did this show. Well, I'll just say the reason why he did this show. Chip Coffey posted on his Psychic and Medium fan page the following post. Let's see. Almost every major media outlet, TV, magazines, newspapers, carried stories about it, not only in the USA, but around the world. It trended worldwide on various social media sites all day yesterday. Lots of people are talking about it. Some loved it and some didn't. It was controversial and history-making. I would definitely say that all of the above qualifies Exorcism Live as a success. Many thanks to all the lovely folks at Destination America, to my beloved fellow castmates, and the top-notch crew for an amazing experience. So, to Chip Coffey, the idea that the show was controversial, history-making, showed around the world, people were making comments whether they loved it or hated it. It was in every major media outlet, TV, magazines, and newspapers. Because of all of that, to him, to Chip Coffey, Exorcism Live was a success. My question to you, Chip Coffey, if you are listening, was the exorcism a success? Was that the reason for the show Exorcism Live to perform the exorcism? Was that a success? No. You comment on how well your name has been put out there, how well everybody has been commenting, or how bad everybody's been commenting. Good publicity or bad publicity is always good publicity. I think I just said that wrong. But anyway, Exorcism Live was not a success because of all of that. Your main purpose for going into this place was to exercise. You promoted on your pages and to people and to interviewers that you wanted to go in there to make sure that the home was rid of whatever demons were there. And you post that it was a success because it got you notoriety. Well, you got the notoriety. That's what you wanted. You wanted the fame and you wanted the money, and that's what you did it for. You didn't do it for paranormal. You didn't do it for the sake of the family members in that home. You certainly didn't do it for anybody who was actually interested in the show and wanting it to be exercised. You didn't do it for them. You did it because you wanted your name out there. And you said it yourself in your own words on your Facebook page. So, Chip Coffey, I want to thank you actually for saying that, Chip. Thank you for admitting to that fact. And if you can't see that you just admitted to that, well, then there's no hope for you.
Well, I would have liked to see maybe a comment afterwards about how it did help the family that lived there, how it did clear the house, rather than talk about how everybody commented on it, how the media, covered it. That wasn't the purpose of it, in my understanding. In the build-up, I kept seeing how this was being done to help people. So how does it help people when it becomes the topic at every water cooler? How does it help people when it becomes the topic at every, on social media? How does that help that family? The whole point of this was to help people. I heard that over and over again. I just want to know how it helps. And before, and I know they're out there, all the people that are going to say, I love Chip Coffey and all this stuff, I have respect for his abilities, okay? I really do. I have respect for anyone that has abilities. But when those abilities are being used just to get a name, just to make money, then I have a problem. That's my issue with the whole thing. That's the sad thing about it. I'm not downing anybody for their abilities. I am downing people for the fame that they're looking for. And that post right there just proves to me that this was all about making a name. It was all about sensationalism. It was all about getting noticed. That's what upsets me.
And I don't want anybody to say, well, you're just jealous because you were not on the show, you were not a part of it, whatever the case is. I don't want to hear it because I'm not. I could care less. I don't want to go to that home. I'll go if I was given the opportunity to investigate it, yes, I would. I don't care if it was on television or not. I don't care about any of that stuff. And a lot of these people, like the Chips and the Bishop Longs out there, that have been bashing other people for making negative comments about the show, they themselves have been saying, well, you're just jealous because, we were on it and you weren't. That, to me, is the most idiotic response anybody can give. But do you have anything else to say about Chip?
No.
Okay. Because, again, we've already said our piece about him, and it wasn't really a shocker to me. But what was a shocker to both Lucy and I was Bishop James Long. And we're going to tell you the reason why. And we're going to read something to you to show you the reason why. And it will outline to everyone who is listening right now what a complete hypocrite with a capital H, Bishop James Long is. He recently actually recently did his own show on Inspire Radio, on Blog Talk Radio. I'll promote it because the show is no longer there. He deleted it afterwards. After the show ended, he deleted it. But he did a show earlier this week to talk about and to talk with people who were sending him negative messages or emails. And he made a statement out there, and he wanted the people who were commenting negatively to come on the show and call in and say it to his face. He kept talking about how everybody's got keyboard courage and that everybody can post things and say things online, but when you get somebody on the phone or face-to-face, they run away. And so he was asking for people to call in. He was also doing this show of his own to comment and explain the evening, the Exorcism Live evening of events and things that had happened, and to sort of set the story straight. And that's where I learned, because I listened to the show, that's where I learned that he and Kat Lang afterwards went back into the home, as he claims, to finish the entire minor rite of exorcism on the home, because the 20 minutes that he was able to do it was not enough time, obviously, to recite the whole thing and to do the whole ritual, or to do the whole rite. So he went back in and done it, and that's what he claims. But the show was meant to attract people who were giving him negative comments to confront him and talk to him. And there were two people that called in during this show. The first gentleman called in and mentioned something to him, and I can't for the life of me remember what he first talked about. He had 3 points that this guy had 3 points that he wanted to talk to Bishop Long about. He mentioned the first one, and then, which was funny because he mentioned the gripe, and Bishop Long misunderstood. Oh, I got it. I know what it is. This guy was actually unfriended off of Bishop Long's Facebook page, and it was all because this guy made a comment, but it wasn't derogatory or it wasn't mean. He wasn't cursing. He wasn't doing anything. He was just making a negative comment about the show, and Bishop unfriended him. When this guy called in and spoke to Bishop live on the air, the guy said to him, "I didn't say anything to you that was of a mean demeanor or that was cursing you out or anything about your character. I was talking about the show." And that's when Bishop said, "Oh, you know what, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood. You know what, I'm going to friend you back. Don't worry, after this, reach out to me and I'll friend you. I'll reach out to you and I'll friend you." And it seemed a little corny at first when I was listening to this, but then he brought up a second gripe that he had. And it was an issue that I'm not going to bring up in the air, but it was some issue that involved certain members that Bishop knows and other members that I guess this guy knows, and Bishop did not want to talk about it and quickly hung up on the guy. Then there was another caller that called in, and it was a woman who called in and said that a man of faith and a man of the cloth should not be doing this if they do not have the express permission from the Roman Catholic Church, which is what you need to get in order to do the minor rite of exorcism. You need the blessings from the Roman Catholic Church. Now, Bishop James Long is not Roman Catholic. He's from the Old Catholic Church, United States Old Catholic Church. So he's not even actually a Roman Catholic. So technically, a lot of priests and bishops have been saying of the Roman Catholic faith that he should not even been doing it at all, number one. Only Roman Catholic clergy can do this. But the point is with this is that he actually, in the middle of her talking, he hung up on her and dismissed her. So if you're calling people and telling people to call into your show, to come to you face-to-face and tell you their gripes about you or about the show, whatever it is, why are you hanging up on them? Why are you not giving them the opportunity then? That, to me, doesn't make sense.
What I found, and I did listen to this show, and what I found kind of disturbing was the way that, how do I put this? Listening to Bishop Long on the show, he kept laughing, and he kept, joking about it, like this was all one big joke. And, there's all the haters, and that's what he talked about. He talked about the haters. And the thing is, to me, it's like if someone questions you, and none of these people were coming out, and nobody was coming out with name-calling. There wasn't anything derogatory. They were simply asking questions. But they were immediately classified as haters. And that's what I don't understand. If someone questions you about things that you've done, they're simply asking a question. Don't they deserve to get some kind of answer? But instead, it was more like he didn't want to hear these questions. He didn't want to answer them. Rather than answer the questions, it was more like, well, no, you don't agree with me, so he hung up on them. And that's what kind of bothered me. I didn't get any answers.
He not only hung up on them, but at one point he got so enraged that he started to call people assholes and started to curse people out. They weren't on the phone, but he was just calling everybody who felt that way an asshole. And he said, yes, that's right, I'm a bishop, and I just said asshole. I call everybody. He was nuts. He went crazy on the show. I understand why he deleted afterwards. He was probably embarrassed. And to me, that's not a man of the cloth. That's not someone who is on the pulpit stating that we should all be of peace and love, which he has expressed even prior to even starting the show, that that we should all stop the negative, be peaceful, all this other stuff. And here he is actually cursing people and calling people assholes. There was something else that he did on the show, and now I can't remember. I had it, now I lost it. Do you remember anything negative, Lucy, that he did?
Mainly the calling people assholes. That's the main thing. Oh God, I don't remember. I really don't remember, because it was one big mess. It was very uncomfortable to listen to.
It was. It really was uncomfortable. I couldn't believe it. And I actually had someone at work listen to it before he deleted it. And she's a woman of the church. She goes to the church almost every single day. Her name is Queenie, if she's listening. But she goes to the church almost every single day, and she does really good deeds for the church, for her local church. And I had her listen to it, and she was mortified by it. But the other thing that he did say, and that he started to bash the Roman Catholic priests that were telling him, and that he read online and on different articles, that he was not able to do it. And he kept saying to the Roman Catholic Church, yes, I can. I am just a branch of an arm of the Roman Catholic Church. I have every right to do it. And then he started to say, well, it's funny how the Roman Catholic Church is telling me that I shouldn't be doing this on television and sensationalizing it. But if people remember in 1971, when there was a live exorcism on NBC, and the Roman Catholic Church, some member of the Roman Catholic Church performed an exorcism on a person. And he kept saying, well, how come it's okay for the Roman Catholic Church to do it on television and do it on a person, but I can't do it on a home? And he started to bash the Roman Catholic priests that were saying that. So that prompted me to think about something. And that prompted me to think about the show that Lucy and I did. And I know Red probably remembers this show. We did a show with Brother Carlos. Maybe it's 2 years ago.
It was October 25th in 2013.
2013, 2 years ago. We had a gentleman on by the name of Brother Carlos, and we promoted our show as doing an exorcism live. And Brother Carlos was going to come on the show, talk about what he does, and was the culmination of the show was that Brother Carlos was going to exorcise Lucy and I via the telephone. And we found this pretty interesting because, one, we were intrigued at the fact or the idea that this guy does this through the YouTube channels that he has, as well as he does things like this over Skype and over the phone. And there's other famous demonologists or people of the clergy that claim to do this as well. But we wanted to have Brother Carlos on to reveal to people what's out there, what people claim that they do, and actually have it performed on us. And, we basically said that there was nothing really happening at all. And so we promoted the show about a week and a half prior to us actually doing it. And we started to get negative feedback, emails and messages from a lot of different people we never heard of, people within the clergy emailing us and telling us we should not be doing this. And we explained to them, it's not that this guy is actually doing an exorcism, and we're not believing it at all, because, number one, he wasn't doing the rite of exorcism. He did his own thing. And basically all he did, if you listen to our show 2 years ago with Brother Carlos, if you listen to it, all this guy is doing is saying, demon, get out, get out of him, demon, get out. That's all he's saying. To me, that's not an exorcism. That's just somebody going crazy off of somebody else claiming that they're going to get rid of a demon out of you. And we explain that to a lot of people. So we received a particular email from two people. There was one from Chris Dedman, who I received from, who is good friends with Bishop James Long. And I don't know if it was Chris that emailed me first, and then Bishop James Long emailed you. I can't remember, or if it was Bishop emailed you, and then Chris emailed me afterwards. I don't remember. But in any case, it doesn't matter. What were you going to say?
I don't remember. I don't remember which one came first. I just totally remembered that this came out of left field.
It came out of left field, but it was to be expected because of the amount of bad messages that we were getting. And we received a particular message from Bishop James Long in regards to us doing this Exorcism Live show with Brother Carlos. And since the email was sent to Lucy, I'm going to give Lucy the opportunity. You got it up?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give Lucy the opportunity to recite the email that came in from Bishop James Long. Go ahead.
And this is actually a Facebook message, okay? And this was
What's it dated? Dated in the time.
Hold on one second. I got it.
Do you want me to say it?
Hold on. Yeah, you say it, because I just have the...
Okay. He sent it because he gave me a copy. He sent it on October 20th, 2013 at 9:14 p.m. Go ahead.
Okay. And it was a message to me, and it goes, Lucy, I have been on your show several times and have enjoyed my experience with you. Hold on one second. I'm so sorry. However, I noticed that you guys are doing a show on October 25th with some guy named Brother Carlos, who is going to do an exorcism live. I would just ask you to reconsider this, considering that the ritual itself is rather sacred and sensationalizing this ritual should be avoided at all costs. After all, when we stand before God at judgment, I don't think any of us will want to have to answer for sensationalizing rituals that are meant to remain sacred. Obviously, this is your show, but should the show go on air, I would have to reconsider any future interviews with the show. I am sure that you can understand that. And that was the message that we received.
So if you just heard Lucy recite the email that we received from Bishop James Long on October 20th, 2013 at 9:14 p.m. for our show that we did on Exorcism Live, which we had Brother Carlos on to talk to him about what he does and to put it out there for people to understand that these things like this happen out there and to possibly be cautious about. He's telling Lucy, basically Lucy and I, that, and I'll read it again, I would just ask that you reconsider this, considering that the ritual itself is rather sacred and sensationalizing this ritual should be avoided at all cost. After all, when we stand before God at judgment, I don't think any of us will want to have to answer for sensationalizing rituals that are meant to remain sacred. So, my question to Bishop James Long is, when did you change your mind? Did money and fame change your mind? So the show that we did with Brother Carlos and doing the Exorcism Live on the radio, to us, to nobody else, we did the exorcism to us, was sensationalizing and is supposed to be meant sacred. When did that change your mind? Who changed your mind? When did this happen? That's my question. So Bishop, if you're listening and you want to call in and talk to us, I'll give you the floor.
You know what? I had totally forgotten about this, but when I saw this again, it didn't make sense. The very fact that he's asking that we're going to do a show with some guy, going to do an exorcism live. How is this different from what was advertised on Destination America over and over again? you could not watch that channel without seeing that commercial. So how was our little show that some people say that very few people listen to, how is that sensationalizing an exorcism? How is it different than what happened on Destination America? I would like to get the answer to that. I really would.
There is no difference, and that's why I call him a hypocrite. Because you're saying to us 2 years ago that the righteousness that you have and the power that you have as a man of cloth, which I respected at that time. I explained to Bishop and I explained to Chris Dedman, who's, I guess, is his best friend, I don't know, that we were doing this to expose Brother Carlos, to show people that things like this happen and to be wary of things like this. That's what we were doing the show for. Not that we had to explain to him or anybody, but we wanted to. And I respected him at that moment. So threatening us, number one, to not to ever do the show again if we were to go ahead and do the actual show on October 25th, 2013, threatening us and telling us that if we did it, he was not going to come back on our show, which we took. We accepted that challenge. We did the show, and we haven't heard from him since then.
No.
I'm sure he listened to it.
I didn't think that we were doing anything that was wrong. I mean, like you said, we explained it to our listeners as it was a way to explain how these things happen, that they're not always real. They're not always what they are put out to be. And I did notice in chat someone said that anyone can do an exorcism. Yeah, in different religions, there's different ways that, the different cultures believe that you can cast out demons. That's not what this is about.
Right, but to explain that further, there are many different religions and many different cultures that have their own way and methods and have their own rituals and rites to perform an exorcism. What Bishop did was he did the minor rite of exorcism, which belongs to the Roman Catholic Church. And that's why the Roman Catholic Church was against what he was doing, because they were taking their rites, even though the Old Catholic Church, which he belongs to, is a branch of a branch of a branch of a branch that he belongs to. They don't consider him a part of the Roman Catholic Church that has the right to do this. So therefore, that's what is bugging me. And when you say to us, sensationalize that, we're sensationalizing it. When we're on a dinky radio show, how is it that you're not sensationalizing it?
You know what? I don't understand it. I don't get it. But to me, this really is. I mean, you just said it's not good to sensationalize this. So what justifies you doing this on television? I don't get it. Is there something that I'm missing? Am I so far from the path of God that I don't understand? Is this something that only the chosen understand? I don't get it. I really don't.
You know what? There's also I think we have a caller that wants to come on the air, which we're going to get to in just one second. But there's another thing that also too that bothers me. If you go to Bishop Long's YouTube channel, you can also see that he posts some videos there. There's, I think, maybe 4. I don't think there's any more than that. But there's one video that he put up recently that's titled something Halloween mini clip or something like that. And I watched it. And it's a drawing cartoon of sort of reminiscent of Jason from Halloween, from Friday the 13th. And it's a drawing cartoon where 2 detectives go into a burning location to try and find survivors, and this, quote-unquote Jason Friday the 13th character kills both of them, but in a manner that is truly graphic for a cartoon where the one female detective, her head is twisted around by this Jason character, whatever, and then left on the floor, and you see the blood pouring out, and you see this Jason character leaving the blazing location, and that's it. There's like no moral to the story. There's no goodwill. There's nothing, blessings or whatever, beware of Halloween. Nothing like that. It's just this video. Is that what a bishop purports to put out there for people to watch? I mean, I don't mind this coming from anybody else, but this is a man of the cloth, and that's what you're publicizing. It's a cartoon, but you're publicizing the death of two people in such a manner that their heads are twisted and cut and slit throats and whatever, and you're okay with that? That blew my mind. That at that point I lost all respect, basically.
The only thing that really bothered me about the whole thing, about that video, was the fact that when he posted it, he put down enjoy. There was nothing enjoyable about that video.
Right, that's in the title too. It says enjoy. Enjoy. Coming from a man of the cloth. Enjoy. Okay.
Okay,
do you want to take the caller? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Hi, you're on the air with Anthony and Lucy. Who am I speaking with?
This is the number one asshole in Bishop Long's America, I guess.
You're the number one?
Welcome to the show. Well, we must be 2 and 3. Hi.
I would have been on earlier, but I didn't realize there was no prompt, so I just started hitting buttons until it said, "Oh, you're in the queue now." So.
Oh. Well, who are we speaking with, dear?
This is Jason.
Hi, Jason.
And how are you the number one asshole of Bishop James Long?
Well, I was the first one he hung up on the other night.
Oh, you were the caller. Oh, hello, Jason.
How you guys tonight?
Good,
we're
good.
Fine.
So we listened to that show, and I don't know if I got my recount correct, but I remember it was that you had several different gripes about that you wanted to get off your chest with him. And I think the first one was something about you posting something on his page, and he misconstrued it or misunderstood it, and finally got it after you guys talked, and it seemed okay. And then you got to a second point, which we know about, and I don't know if you want to talk about it here, but that's when he cut you off. And then he went on to this rampage about calling everybody an asshole. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, I had posted some stuff, and I mean, I was just voicing my opinion. Nobody has opinions. Obviously, we're all just bashing everybody else. You can't have an opinion. Everybody just thinks you're bashing them. Obviously,
right.
And I just made kind of a smart aleck comment, amongst other comments, and I actually had points on. But the smart aleck comment, I was like, this is so many named people going to be on this show. I said, why not give Linda Blair a cameo on the show? And that's whenever he blocked me and called me evil. He sent a message out there. I actually had to get somebody else to send me because after he blocked me to leave me, I couldn't see it. But I'll put you on. I want you to hear what he sent me because it was so funny. His condescending what he sent on this message. Obviously, all of Facebook saw it, but me.
When did you get this message?
A friend of mine that actually still was friends of his on Facebook sent it to me afterwards.
Okay.
Because I was like, he blocked and deleted me, and I have no idea what he put out there. But pretty much his message to me was that I was rather shameful individual that believed to know everyone's intentions, and I'm very judgmental. And, of course, he puts in there, now wait, didn't Jesus say something about not judging others? He says I should step back and calm my anger. And at this point I'm reading this, I'm like, is he a psychiatrist or is he a man of the cloth? I just don't know who I'm dealing with here.
Right.
He says I should calm my anger. It's not healthy for me. And pretty much he says, you seem to have the power that you think you can speak for everybody else. And then at the end of this, he says, I've come to a point in my life where I just don't want negative people in my life like you. He said, jealousy, anger, and judging others is not doing the work of God, and pretty much I'm what's wrong with the paranormal community.
Right. That was the other thing that he kept pointing out during the course of his show, that he said that everybody who has an opinion or is quote-unquote hating him, that we're the ones that are the ones that are wrong in the paranormal and not him or the shows that are being put out there. That to me is ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I mean, and obviously you know as well as I do, the show was, and I had to watch it just like everybody else. I'm like, I've wasted 2 hours of my life doing other stuff, so why not waste another 2 more?
Right.
Obviously, I watched it for the fact of seeing what could happen on live TV they couldn't go and edit out. And the best part of the night, obviously, minus the candle flickering and the lamp shaking and everything else, was the fact that Chip bumped into his door and made a knock, and you saw Bishop jump around like somebody just pinched him, And I'm like, if that was not live, it would have been like, what was that? There would have been some kind of way to spin that. But since it was live, you had to say, oh, that was me, I knocked the door or whatever.
Right.
But
there was actually even
really
a point too. There was a point in the show also too, which I found out afterwards. Do you remember when Chip was reciting something Dominus in Latin? There was that line that he kept repeating over and over again. It was right after or during the time, it may have been right after Bishop had performed the first part of the minor rite of exorcism. He started to chime in and repeat this thing 3 or 4 times. It's actually a line of the minor rite of exorcism, which Chip Coffey, is actually not allowed to do. He should not have been doing that as well.
Well, according to Bishop Long, since he's not Roman Catholic, he doesn't have to have permission. Well, that's just almost telling everybody on TV, well, hey, I'm not Roman Catholic either, so I can go do an exorcism anytime I want to, I mean, the man of the cloth, really what he's wearing is no different than an outfit you got for Halloween this year. I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, in my opinion, if we want to be serious about it.
You are absolutely right. And I don't know if you heard what we were just talking about, but we had put on a show a couple of years ago, and we had this brother Carlos who's on YouTube, and he claims to do these things via the phone or Skype or even through his YouTube videos, exercising people. We thought it was so laughable, we decided we wanted to have this guy on and talk to him and question him about it, and then put it to our listeners to say, hey, there's these crazy people out there that actually do this. Don't fall for it and don't give them their money. And that was the reason for our show. But when we were promoting it, the week before, Bishop emails us and tells us how we should not be sensationalizing and that the rite is actually sacred, and we don't want to stand in front of God and have to explain why we sensationalize, one of the sacred rites. But my question to him is, how is that different than what you just did a week ago?
I have no idea how he can even put God's name or Jesus' name in his mouth when he talks about, I don't have to have approval, and the Vatican only does it. His big speeches and stuff he gave on the radio show, because I listened to the whole thing. I thought it was funny that, like you said, he deleted the whole archive afterward. I'm like, are you trying to hide what just happened on live radio that, all 13 of your listeners were calling, all 13 minus the 2, negative people you wanted to hang up on.
Right.
But, why you would go out there and throw the Vatican under the bus and throw everybody under the bus. Yeah, it's good to have, all these people talking about exorcism live, but when you're a laughing stock on the Today Show, when they're like, they call him an offset priest. I mean, what does that make you feel like as a person, an offset priest,
Unbelievable. Have you heard anything after your spat with him on the air? Did anybody?
No, I made sure. I mean, I wasn't even remotely even going to worry about the block and lead thing. I mean, it was just the point that it's just like anything else, They can't take the heat. They can't, they can't be criticized because they're always, in his case, it's going to come out that, you're going against the man of Jesus and all the, and God and everything else, which I thought it was so funny how he put Jesus in the paranormal community. If you look at that in a sense of, I've been doing, investigations for 16 years. Anytime you put those two together, everybody's going to crucify you anyway. Well, why are you even putting that, putting those in the same category? Because, you ghost hunters, you're just rising spirits up and all that stuff anyway, so.
Right. It's amazing.
He hasn't messaged me. He hasn't said anything to me, so, I mean, I just left it at what it was. I thought it was funny, like I said, that the fact that he called us all assholes. And I'm like, you called me an asshole, and well, I'm calling about one thing, and I've heard other people say worse than that, in my profession or whatever you want to call his scam he has going on. So,
Well, that's the thing that really got to me because I listened to this, and you weren't derogatory in any way. You weren't combative in any way. You were simply stating an opinion. The other part that I find kind of weird is that he posts all of these rants and he posts all these things, but yet they get deleted right away. So it's kind of like you put all these things out there, but then you delete them right afterwards. Maybe only your followers see them, and then all of a sudden they get deleted. If this is something you truly believe, leave it out there.
Exactly. I'm one of these people who screenshots everything that gets put out there that way in case they do delete it. I wish I would have known that he was going to delete the show. Yep. I wish I knew he was going to delete the show so I could hurry up and download it right afterwards, so he didn't delete the archives. So.
Trust me, we did the same thing. We screenshot everything, all the messages that I had gotten, and we've got screenshots of them because I had a feeling that they may disappear.
And that's the thing. Why, like you said it perfectly. A hypocrite. I mean, to the top of his level, to sit out there and if you're going to sit there and put it out there on your page, I'm doing a show tonight. Don't worry about. I'm not screening calls. I'm doing every call transparent, 100% transparency. Right. Two of the callers that call in actually, you want to talk to, and you want to hear the negative from because nobody else wanted to call in besides us. And you hang up on them as soon as it starts getting hot. As soon as the water starts getting hot, you're like, oh, no, we're not going to do that here. But the other time, the whole point through the conversation when he's talking to me like, I may have misunderstood you, and I can add you back. We can talk off of here. I mean, so many things he said that just drove me crazy is why, we got into it on Facebook. He's like, well, have you talked to producers and have you talked to directors? Oh, sure I have. I just got their phone number off Google and called them up and asked them, why are you doing this show for? Like it's so easy to just do that.
It is funny because he deleted most of the posts on his I guess it's because I was unfriended from his personal page, but he has I guess his fan page or whatever, which is kind of funny for a bishop to have a fan page. But anyway, that's the only page that I'm able to see, and I remembered that he had posted a lot of stuff, comments and commenting back at people and all that. And then after that show that he did, he deleted his radio show and then deleted all of these posts. It's like he just wanted to wipe it clean like it never really happened, which I kind of find funny and sort of more telling of his character. Is he trying to hide something? Was he ashamed of the show? I'm sure he was, and I think that's the reason why. And I kind of got that feeling, too, from Kat when she was sort of tongue-tied a lot of the times when he was trying to get her to respond to things. I kind of got a feeling that, either she was caught off guard or she was uncomfortable hearing what he was actually spewing out.
Well, in that case, too, he condescends himself so much by saying, I'm not a Roman Catholic, so I don't need permission to do the minor rite or everything else. But, the show he did on another radio show, out of Florida, he wants to sit there and say, Kat's like, I'm just there in case something was to happen to Bishop and I can take over. And he's like, now, Kat, let's be specific now. You can't actually come up and do the minor rite. She's like, oh, no, Bishop, that's not what I meant. But I'm like, if you're sitting there saying that, you don't have permission, then why does she have to have permission? Why can't she just come up there and take over? And, since the house is just dying for an exorcism or cleansing or blessing, in my opinion, is what it should have been called.
Right.
But, actually, they never went. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, but I was just going to say, but didn't he say on the radio show that he, or I think it was Kat that said it, that after the Exorcism live show ended, Kat and Bishop went back into the house to finish it, so she actually was helping him.
Well, I didn't get that far into it. After the second person hung up, I was just like, I was laughing so hard, I guess I never listened to the rest of the show to hear about that. I figured, she was just hiding in the basement long enough to actually come out. Why they brought her in so last minute, just blew my mind. And, I mean, there's no real way, the show just had so many missing points. If you're actually going to research like a real investigator would do, or like somebody's actually going to watch this would do, instead of just your everyday person who's like, oh, my gosh, something to watch for Halloween. They go in there and they're like, okay, the Ouija board's just going crazy, and we've got to let's close it and get out of here. I'm not a Ouija board fan, but the planchette was still in the middle of the board. Nobody moved it to goodbye to close it out. They just got up and walked out, and like, oh, it was just awful. We had to close the session out. I'm like, everything was so, if you're going to research it, they do that right, and nothing was done right. I mean, if you want to talk about somebody who's did so many minor rites, like he says, he's got so much history in doing this stuff. He's did numerous minor rites and numerous, whatever he says. I'm pretty sure I could have walked right up there and quoted everything that needed to be said in that room instead of having what looked like a Denny's menu in front of me reading that stuff off of there.
That's what that looked like. That's funny.
Well, I'm like, okay, somebody put some paper on a Denny's menu after we got ready to eat, so I want to read it real quick.
That's what it looked like. That little flip book that he had. Well, Jason, thank you so much for calling in. We really did appreciate getting your insight and getting a little info. Was there anything? There was a third question, I think, that you wanted to ask. What was that?
No, I never got to the third part. I guess I jumped over my head there. But let's just put it this way: something he said, and I mean, it just drives me insane because I know all these people, and I'll stay on just for a second after this because I wanted to address something you guys talked about earlier. Him and Kat are supposedly best friends, and she would do anything for him, and it's just the great community and the great, camaraderie between them. Let me tell you, from a perfect standpoint, they are not close to being any kind of best friends. They very much don't get along. I've seen this in person, not to mention that probably another 10 or 12 people seen this in person at a convention in Illinois, that they were face-to-face screaming at each other. And that's what I was going to get at, and he knew that because he came and talked to me at this event after all that stuff happened, because he was like, shook my hand, all this stuff, even though he'd known me, even though he'd seen me 3 or 4 times back in Louisville, years ago at the Mid-South stuff he was doing. But, I just found it kind of funny that, they put out there, we're best friends, and we'll do anything for each other, and she'll do anything for anybody. But I'm like, you're in the middle of a convention and you're going back and forth with each other. I'm like, is that really how people act? When you're supposedly a figure in the paranormal field.
Right, and a man of the clergy.
God.
I don't know. I don't know Kat very well at all. Only from when I've ever listened to, which is I can count on maybe half of my hand his radio shows. That's the only area and place that I've ever heard the name Kat or know of her. I've never seen her anywhere else. And I said this before. I haven't gone to any conventions in I don't know how many years, so I don't get to see that kind of action that happens sort of behind the scenes. But that sounds like I don't know. Sounds something
different.
Yeah,
I wish it was one of those times I could have had a video camera like everybody else does, or have my phone on. I was just kind of floored. I'm like, wow. I was like, I never, it's just back and forth, and just to hear the stuff that he said to me, I'm like, nice to know you let everybody else out there in the fantasy world, that is TV and everything else, we're great together and everything else,
Yeah.
So.
It's all to build character and persona. That's all it is.
Well, we all just need to become a bishop and have our own radio show. There's so many bishops out there across the country who have their own radio show. So,
well, forget radio. We'll go straight to TV.
Well, one thing I want to mention, and this is something that I found, he does have a management company for booking publicity and advertising. It's Genesis Creations Entertainment, and it's celebrity management, booking, publicity, and advertising. Now, I don't know if this is current, but it does list Bishop James Long, and you can book him through the site. So he does have a celebrity management booking company.
I don't know any other bishop that has a celebrity management booking company representing them. That's interesting.
No, that's even news to me, because if I'm doing my research right, and I'm being 100% honest here, his real last name is Short, and I'm not making that to be a joke. His real last name is James Short. And I just, I've researched quite a bit of stuff, because I know how these people are, I know Lucy's been around for a while to remember the crazy magician stuff that happened a couple of years ago with the narcissistic magician that, was going after everybody. And I just got a feeling this may be heading in the same direction. So before it gets out of hand and gets in that level, it's always good to have those screenshots and everything else and have that back research and stuff in case it does go that level. So.
Oh yeah, we've learned our lesson.
Because we're all just jealous. We're all just jealous because we're not invited to the party, and that's just what it comes down to.
Right.
So.
That's it.
I sat at home and cried that night.
Hey, can I make one quick comment and I'll let you guys go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
I just had a couple of quick things about what you guys were talking about earlier. I haven't listened to the whole show. I understand that the paranormal groups that come in and do these convention stuff, and they pay their money to have a table and stuff to get their promotion of their group out there and everything else, which is fine. It's good for some groups to actually help people, and then some groups, they automatically think, oh, I went to Waverly and I went to Ohio, State Reformatory and everything else, like every other paranormal investigator's been to, like it's something special. But I think the thing that kind of threw me a little bit, and I'm not jumping on your old case in this, is, they bring all this equipment in there, and some of them sell the SB7 ghost boxes and stuff in there. I think it just comes down to they want something to sell in there. They want to have people, come in and say, like you say, people that have never been to an event, maybe just saw it on a website, oh, cool, paranormal event. They want to be able to show these people, hey, this is how this works, and not really sell it for profit because most of these things, they're so expensive, it's hard to sell them more than what you can find them online for.
Right,
but I think they just want to have kind of that, feel good of, hey, we showed somebody how to use some equipment today. Because, I travel...
No, I agree with you completely, and maybe I generalize too much, but there are groups out there that do these conventions, and they pay for a vendor table. It's not free. These groups have to pay to have the table there, and they promote their group and sell items. Most of them, not most of them, but there's a good amount that then funnel that money that they receive back into the group so that they can buy more equipment, or if it's for traveling, because obviously nobody's making money as a paranormal group out there. Everybody should be going to homes and doing it for free, really. And so this is the only means of getting any kind of revenue in, which I completely understand and I'm grateful for, and I don't have an issue with people of that nature. But there are a lot of groups out there who are basically there to promote themselves and are dying. I've heard the conversations, are dying to get on television, and that's the reason why they do this, because it gives them the opportunity to stand next to a paraceleb and schmooze so that they can either hook up and do a project together so that they can become famous or be within that circle, or two, try and get connections from them so that they can get a television show. And I've seen it happen. And that's what brings it down for a lot of the folks that are there legitimately just to, if it's locally, trying to let people know that, hey, I'm local, I'm here in your town or in your city, you can call me if there's any issues, and, we are selling an SB7, or we're selling a book, or we're selling a T-shirt to, just fund our group. And I don't want the people who are out for, the fame mongers out there to, to ruin it for the groups that are actually doing it legitimately. So maybe I generalize it too much, which I apologize for, but there are people out there that I've noticed that are just there just so that they can get a name for themselves.
And you can tell the difference. I mean, I'm not like speaking out of text because I've been doing it before there was, digital recorders and mediums and everything else along. I've been doing this forever before any shows are out. But, you can tell the difference in a paranormal group that's actually out there to help and the ones who have professional, they put in their plea, if you want to call it that, for the best professional ghost hunting results or, whatever, or they put expert, paranormal investigators out there. You already know that, kind of how to split that in two, because there's no such thing as professional or expert in the paranormal field, because really and truly you can't prove any of this stuff happens. I mean, it's just how, it's just how it is. You can get everything, any kind of evidence you want, but you can't ever prove that, I saw that or heard that or you got on my recorder, so, and that's always going to be, the way it's going to be, so.
Right.
So, wait, Jason, I can't go online and pay my $99 and get my certificate that says that I'm a paranormal expert?
Well, no, but you can probably go on the bishop's website and you can probably, screen print that laity, how do you say laity of demonologist? Just white out the name and put your own name in there. I mean, I can honestly say the last event I went to, there was a professional tarot reader with a certificate that said that on her table. That was probably the funniest thing I've ever. That's probably the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
And that's what I say that ruins it for so many other people. That is the silliness that's out there, and that's when other people who are outside look at this and they say, "Are you kidding me? How do you certify yourself to be a tarot reader or a medium? How do you certify? What school do you go to? How is that done? How does anybody test that? And are you willing to get it tested? I'd love to get those mediums tested or those psychics tested legitimately."
I'll say this because I don't ever bring it up because she is a minor. My daughter does a lot of medium stuff, and I mean, Lucy probably has known her. I think Lucy may have met her once before, but because we're good friends with the people up in Ohio at Poasttown and stuff. So, but it's funny, you know. We always got that challenge from the crazy magician guy. We'll go to James Randi and do his challenge. That challenge is set up for everyone to fail, whether you have a gift or not. Because you go through and you read everything for $1 million. There's 10 different challenges you're going to do. Every time you prove them wrong on one, they're going to throw something else up. So it's obviously that's why nothing's ever happened with that, because they're going to try and try and try until they find something, you know, that you can't do.
Right.
Block you or whatever block you or whatever you want to call it. You know, my daughter had a guy like that a while back that, 4 years ago, being a minor at 14, he come up, at her table and said, "I'm blocking you, but I want to see if you can read me." I'm like, okay, well, first off, jackass, you just said you're blocking her, so that's not going to happen, no matter if you got a gift or if you're, Jesus.
Right.
And, of course, he goes on to, try to throw her under the bus on Facebook and everything else. And I'm like, you realize that you're getting ready to exploit a minor, which is going to get you many years in jail. And he's like, well, I guess I didn't think about it that way. I'm like, you have kids yourself. Why would you go and do that? Why would you even remotely put yourself in that situation? But, I'm with you guys. I've spent many years of traveling and stuff with her and doing stuff, and we pay to go everywhere. I pay gas. I've probably spent $25,000 in car stuff and everything else over the years. But it's something for her to enjoy and do and be able to help people, because we travel all over the country,
Right.
But I appreciate you guys having me on. I didn't call in to cause a fuss, or hopefully you guys won't hang up on me real quick, and call me an asshole.
Wait, quick, hang up on him.
No. I appreciate you actually calling in, and appreciate you listening to the show, and actually giving us your insight. And if you see Daryl, tell him we said hello. Lucy actually just talked to him the other day. We love Poasttown, and Daryl is just an amazing guy there, which I know he just got a new website done, so we're actually, and I think it's already live. I think I saw him post something, so we're going to put it on our Facebook page and let everybody go and visit it. But tell him we said hello, and thank you, Jason, for calling in. Thank you.
All right, you guys have a great night.
All right, take care.
Jason.
Well, that was an interesting conversation. I did want to get into, we've got 7 minutes left, and now I can't even find my notes.
There's a lot more that we wanted to get into, but we don't have time for it.
Yeah, I know we did want to talk about the Demon Files, which just aired last week, and I don't know how anybody feels about that, but we've had Ralph Sarchi on the show with us before, and again, it's another sort of laughable show. I don't know too much about Ralph, and after our interview with him that we did, I was kind of confused. And Lucy and I remember we talked to each other afterwards, and we were like, wait a minute, what? I'm not even understanding where his stand is on demons and exorcism, and how he's involved in that, and the part where he is actually a sort of religious figure, somehow a religious figure in all of this, and bringing that to the table. I was really confused after our interview with him, and so when I saw the Demon Files and he was going to be the star of this thing, I said, I got to watch it. and I watched the episode last week on Sunday, and I cringed. I even posted on our Facebook that I was disgusted that this man would walk into a home that is, I don't know if it has demons or spirits. I don't know anything. And here he is like a gangbuster, yelling at whatever the spirits were in there. And I think there was a point in the show where it turned, and I know I started to then feel and realize that there was no demon, that it was that young teenager kid that killed himself. I don't know if it was in the home or if it was directly outside the home, that may have been the spirit that's there that's still angry, which caused the daughter of the family that's living there right now to try and commit suicide herself. And that's where I turned and I said, okay, wait a minute, it's not a demon. It's, this kid. But I think he still kept up with the demon feeling, and I kept questioning, and I was yelling at the screen, what are you doing? There is no demon. Start talking to this boy. Start talking to this teenager or whatever. And it just, again, was really silly. And here we go. We've got people who think that this is what we all do when it comes to dealing with demons, or this is what you should be doing, dealing with demons. And here he is, not a man of the cloth, exercising the home. I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, the tagline for the show, you see it more than once. He's not a paranormal investigator. He is a demonologist. And my question is that why is everything a demon? Why is everything? So in that case, going from what I saw on that show, any activity that you get, it's demonic. That's what I don't understand. Everything is a demon. And I don't get that. I really don't get that. So that means every location we've gone to and all the activity that we've come across, they're all demons.
I just thought it was also pretty funny that he took their mirror and he made a comment and said he was sending it to John Zaffis because John Zaffis wanted it. And so I just had to laugh. I just couldn't anymore. We've got, under 4 minutes left in the show. Lucy, why don't you get to the fan of the week? So I just wanted to say thank you all for listening to our griping and getting everything that we wanted to talk about, and let everybody understand that this is not a personal vendetta. This is not, some, misconception that we just hated the show, Exorcism Live, and that's why we're doing it. No, we legitimately, hopefully you got it from us, that we detail the reasons why we had a problem with the show. And to me, they're legitimate reasons. They're not, jealous gripes. We're not a hater of them personally. I just don't like the characters that were there. And so I felt the need to put this forward because to me, paranormal research seems to be dying, and I think we need to start to get back into that field again with educating people and learning new things and not just building a mirrored box and trying to capture spirits. To me, that's silly.
Well, anyway, let's get to the Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week. And this week, it is Roger Bates of Tennessee. He likes 13 Band. He's a horror movie buff. He likes American Horror Stories, The Dead Files, and, of course, he likes Paranormal Review Radio. Thank you so much, Roger, for liking our posts and being a fan.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. And don't forget, if you want to be a Paranormal Review Radio Fan of the Week, just like us on Facebook at Paranormal Review Radio.
Well, you know what? Next week, we're going to continue our own search for answers. And out of all the unexplained mysteries in the world, this one is one of the strangest. The Dyatlov Pass incident was an event that resulted in the deaths of 9 hikers in the northern Ural Mountains on the night of February 2nd, 1959. Now, investigators have determined that the skiers, they had been torn their tents from the inside. There are theories that it was caused by unknown compelling forces. They think that it could be an avalanche, a military accident, a hostile encounter with extraterrestrial life. we're going to talk about this next week. We're going to, and do our own research and try to find out what really happened to them that night. So join us next Friday night as we look at the mystery that is known as the Dietlof Pass incident. I got to learn to say that before next week.
There's a lot of Russian words that are going to be coming up, so this is going to be a fun show.
This is great. Thank you, everyone, for being part of the Paranormal Review family. You guys are so very important to us and to the paranormal community. Thank you, Anthony, for another great discussion. So, until next time, Parapeeps, stay real and have a paranormal week. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Paranormal Review Radio.
Want internet that works whenever you need it? Xfinity Internet delivers reliably fast speeds, even during peak hours when everyone is online at the same time. Get started with Xfinity Internet for just $19.99 a month for a whole year. Call 1-800-XFINITY or visit Xfinity.com today. Requires enrollment to EcoBill paperless billing. Offer ends 11/18/15. Restrictions apply. New Economy Plus Internet customers only. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra and subject to change. After promo, regular rates apply.